By the way, Dr. Ire Güçlü joined the broadcast. I didn't want to interrupt Hasan Sadat Taras. Let's say hello. Hoca, welcome.
Thank you. Have a good broadcast.
Thank you very much. It was Tuesday night and we were talking about Syria on this map. When I asked for your comments on the conflicts between the Druze and the tribes, you drew attention to Damascus. You said Damascus would be targeted by Israel. One day passed, it happened. And now that we have you, we'll ask you, of course, what happens next and what is happening at the moment. Do you have different information? Israel? We know that the Syrian army is already continuing those attacks in Suwaida. Even if there is an agreement, it is not valid. At least that's what the field information tells us.
Massacred.
You can ask like this.
They did? Of course they massacred.
Are we?
In Suwaida, something like this happened. Israel came here with the Druze uprising together with Damascus forces. A ceasefire agreement was reached, and that was Damascus forces left Suwaida, but they stopped at a certain point. The Druze cops over there to restore order so it doesn't get bigger, not to turn into a military operation, for the purpose of such a temporary ceasefire agreement was verbally agreed. But then, instead of the Druze police providing security, Druze militants went and massacred Sunnis in the villages there. They killed women, children, and children. In the last 24 hours from yesterday to today, evolving events. And on top of that, Arab tribes reacting in the region. When we entered Suwaida, we found an Israeli planes hit it again. Here, before that, I mean here, the Druze militia, militants, while Israeli airplanes are carrying out massacres in Damascus. So, as you know, it hit the military headquarters and government buildings. Such a simultaneous attack took place. Of course, many Arab tribesmen took up arms and started to flow towards here, you know, in response. In response, Israel struck again tonight.
Hit again.
It struck again an hour ago. And before he came here, he said to broadcast it. I told you right at the beginning that it was going to strike. So Israel has a limit of progress in its mind. This limit of progress...
Will he target Damascus again, sir? Sir? Will he target Damascus again at critical points? Israel?
Will probably strike again. So for the time being, Israel, how shall we say, the measures taken so far are not enough to stop Israel in this region and in Damascus. I will tell you that.
So what needs to happen?
We need to talk about what should happen at work, but we will express it in one word or one sentence. How to be active. Let's say active deterrence. Mr. Hassan said it a moment ago, and I said it carefully. I suddenly agree. So here we need active deterrence. There is a security dilemma at the moment.
Then let me ask you about the statement from the Ministry of National Defense underlining what Hassan quoted. It is said that if the Damascus administration requests, Turkey can provide support.
Mr. President, there is also a very important place in his discourse. I would like to say that once again and emphasize it. We will take the necessary measures together with the Syrian people. We will act together with the Syrian people in terms of their deterrence. Now, this is a very important message, and it coincides with the statement of our defense ministry. I mean, we are serious to overcome security issues. We are ready to help and support. Now, this is important because Turkey's capabilities are very high. This is what we call active deterrence. Probably when Syria is ready with the support it will receive. So that's what I understand. But in the meantime, and in order to develop the situation here, Israel has created a de facto situation on the ground in its favor through the Druze to be able to develop. Will continue to shoot them down. I mean, drones have come up to the point of transportation with drones. There in the square. If you remember, people were evacuated from Umayyad Square. Again, the process is here and tracking them. Of course, they are for intelligence and reconnaissance purposes. He gives the information he receives from the field to the plains. The advancing Arab tribes is a tool for them to hit their situation. So right now, there is nothing on the ground that can change the equation. So right now, Israel, especially the second one tonight, the airstrikes in Suwaida, which I have mentioned before, there is a margin of advance, and that limit of advance is about 5 kilometers from the city center of Suwaida. As I understand it, I mean the field information. There is a line running north of it, further into this line, further south to the southwest. He does not want the Shara forces and Arab tribes to pass.
By the way, Hodja, now, as my editor reports, very new footage of clashes between the Bedouins and the plainsmen. Our team says it is. They have now reflected it on the screen. Thank you, Hakan. I would like to talk about these images in the meantime. How would you make an assessment? This is the hottest footage on record.
So these are right Arab.
Such are the conflicts between the Bedouins and the dozen in
Syrian
Arabia.
people are defending their country. Look at this. Of course, now this is important here. So there is a rule in some sociology. There is a rule that not every conflict indicates separation, and not every merger indicates integration. So here, unfortunately, we do not wish, we do not want, but after the regime, against the divisive policies of foreign powers in Syria, as far as I can see, a consciousness has started to emerge among the Syrian people. I mean, it is as if they have seen what can happen to them if they are allowed to do this, if they separate. Because the tribes in Raqqa, the Rizor, and they started to flow here. Now, of course, there is Israeli air power intervene and try to protect their own Druze militants around Suwaida. But I see an urban conflict here. Yes, of course. After all, that air, now you can't have much effect with air power in this kind of urban warfare. I mean, we even received information that Israel also hit Druze in Suez, probably by mistake.
It wants to interfere with the living by mistake.
But it's like this, it doesn't really care. For Israel, 10 Druze are dead, 20 Arabs are dead.
He says something I don't understand, but they have shot many people by mistake. Hassan, let's listen to you.
Yehodja, 60% of these decent groups supported by Israel were neutralized during the conflicts in Suez by the regime in Damascus. In other words, the groups supported by Israel have already suffered serious losses.
Yes, I mean, if here, well, there is actually a dilemma like this now. You know, I think about what Israel can do. The Shara administration. Now, it is a good thing that the Shara administration has opened this space. I mean, Israel needs to see that the field is not empty. They have low-altitude air defense systems. They should also shoot down those drones. I mean, look, they need to switch to active deterrence here as soon as possible. It's not like they are going to wage an all-out war with Israel. Let's be more clear. Israel is not in a position to wage an all-out war with Syria either. I mean, Israel also has very weak points here. I mean, Israel cannot carry out a land operation. It cannot conduct a large-scale ground operation because tactical rules say that the width and depth of a brigade's front is approximately 7 by 8, so he can't logistically support the brigade beyond 10 kilometers, even if he did. And that will be hit. In other words, Israeli troops will be shot on the ground. They know that. So it's only from the air. They are also trying to use the militants below as ground forces. Of course, now they're trying. Israeli planes are intervening against Arab forces here. But they are scattered in urban warfare. Paramilitary forces divided along various routes. These are the paramilitary forces. You can't hunt them down one by one with airplanes.
So that
also shows the weakness of this job for Israel.
Now, when we analyze it a little more like this, we know that the clashes continue with these weapons in their hands, of course. I mean, this Would you be able to give us a reading on the weapons that you can tell us as technical information? No?
They
Just
use
out of
conventional
curiosity.
weapons. Conventional weapon. This is an RPG-7 rocket launcher. Now, when you look at the way it is used, there is something. The user has knowledge. Yes, because these are already born and raised with guns all the time. And in their hands is the classic gun.
It's a different new look.
The one behind the thing was using a Bixby machine gun. You know, when we look at it, yes, he uses it correctly. So how to use it? I mean, you can't just go and... It's not like someone there who has never used it has bought it and used it. Let me tell you that too. This, of course, increases their combat effectiveness. It does. I mean against the Druze. If what Mr. Hassan said before is correct, that is, if a large part of it was neutralized by the forces of Shagray. Tonight, this thing, they'll get into Suwaida. You know, they will enter the city center.
In fact, despite the Israeli aerial bombardment, they entered, cleaned it, and left. So they showed a serious power there.
Yes, they did. Of course, it was bad that that massacre happened after that. I mean, it sabotaged the process.
I said that is a new image. They are advancing to Suwaida.